Have you ever woken up, looked around your home, and realized the world feels just a little quieter than it used to? Not broken, not empty, just quieter. Growing older isn't always a steady road. Sometimes it turns sharply when you least expect it. After 80, life has a way of shifting under your feet. Even the strongest souls, the ones who've weathered decades with grit and grace, can find themselves caught off guard by changes no one warned them about. These aren't the loud changes. They don't come with a diagnosis or a headline. They arrive like shadows at sunset, slowly, softly, until one day, everything looks a bit different. You might have felt it already, a moment when your reflection felt unfamiliar, or when a memory returned, not just with sweetness, but with weight. Or maybe you've sensed a distance in voices that once felt close. In today's video, we're not just listing symptoms of age. We're shining a light on 5 quiet truths that shape life after 80. Not to frighten you, not to dwell, but to name what is often unnamed. And in doing so, offer you something powerful: clarity, peace, and renewed strength. Because when you recognize the change, you can meet it with wisdom. And when you speak the truth of your journey, you discover something even deeper. You're not walking this path alone. Once, your days were dotted with voices, a phone ringing, a knock on the door, laughter echoing from the kitchen. But after 80, those sounds grow softer, not gone, just less frequent. Like a favorite song drifting further away on the radio, fading just enough that you start to wonder if you imagined the melody. Your social world, once wide and full of rhythm, begins to quietly fold in on itself. Friends move away, some slow down, others leave altogether. Family calls still come, but with longer pauses between rings. Visits grow rare, schedules tighten. Life, it seems, grows busier for everyone but you. And it's not just the silence that catches you, it's the feeling that comes with it. A shift in how you're woven into other people's lives, once central, now more like a distant thread. You may find yourself reminiscing more, not because you're clinging to the past, but because memory becomes a bridge, a way to feel close to those who were once only a few footsteps away, now carried in the quiet. Let's be clear, this isn't bitterness, it's honesty. It's naming the ache that often goes unspoken. Even if you've never needed crowds or constant company, there's a particular kind of stillness after 80 that takes some getting used to. A new kind of solitude, not loneliness exactly, but an unfamiliar hush where community once lived. And here's what matters most. You don't need a crowd to feel connected. Even 1 or 2 hearts, seen clearly, held closely. That can be more powerful than a room full of chatter. So keep that connection alive. Write the letter, make the call, share the story. Because when the world grows quieter, the value of one true voice, yours or theirs, becomes immeasurable. There was a time when your body bounced back like a spring, a scratch healed in days, a cold, gone before you finished the soup. But after 80, things change, not with drama, but with quiet defiance. Now a bruise blooms longer than expected. A misstep on the stairs isn't just a stumble, it's a week of soreness or worse. A skipped glass of water can leave your whole body feeling off balance. It's as if your body has stopped whispering and started asking louder for your attention. Not because it's weak, but because it's different. The resilience you once took for granted has become a resource, finite, valuable, and in need of careful tending. What once healed in the background now demands front row care. And that realization, it's not just physical, it's deeply personal. If you've spent your life being strong, capable, independent, this shift can feel like betrayal, like your own body is no longer keeping its promises. But here's a truth most people overlook. Awareness is its own form of power. Because when you begin listening, truly listening, you start to respond with wisdom. You give yourself rest without guilt. You hydrate not out of routine, but out of respect. You move gently, not because you're fragile, but because you're honoring what remains strong. This chapter of life isn't about proving you're unbreakable. It's about protecting what still shines. by no longer taking it for granted. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is pause, recover, and say to yourself, I'm still here, and I'm still learning how to care for this body one day at a time. There was a time when you walked into a room and the air shifted. People noticed, voices paused, eyes turned. But somewhere along the road past 80, that spotlight begins to dim. Not abruptly, not cruelly, but quietly, like a sunset fading behind everyday conversation. Now you speak, and sometimes others talk over you. You share a thought, and it floats, unheard, like a feather falling in a crowded room. It's not always rudeness, it's not malice. It's something softer and harder to name. A culture too distracted to listen. A society that moves fast and often forgets where its wisdom truly lives. You begin to feel like your age enters the room before you do, like it announces you with silence, before you've even said a word. And it stings, not because you crave attention, but because your stories matter. Your voice holds decades. Your presence has weight. You've lived through love, through loss, through turning points others haven't yet imagined. And now you find yourself repeating things twice, not because you forgot, but because they didn't really hear you the first time. That quiet invisibility can feel like a kind of grief, subtle but sharp, as if the world is tilting just enough to leave you outside its center. But hear this clearly, your worth isn't measured by who sees you first. It's measured by what you carry. And what you carry, resilience, grace, memory, perspective, is more valuable than ever. So speak again. Say it louder if you must. Not with anger, but with calm certainty. Because you're not asking to be seen. You are seen by those who matter, even if they need a moment to look more closely. Be the quiet strength in the room, the steady presence that reminds others what it means to live deeply and listen fully. You may not be the loudest voice anymore, but you are the one with the most to say. It doesn't happen overnight. One day you're walking to the corner store without thinking twice. A week later, the walk feels just a little longer. Months pass, and suddenly, you realize you haven't been down that street in ages. This is how it starts. Not with a door slamming shut, but with space slowly folding in around you. The routines you once moved through like clockwork begin to feel heavier. Your favorite cafe closes, neighbors move, the familiar rhythm of your days, appointments, errands, friendly chats on the porch, begins to quiet until the silence itself becomes a character in your life. And it's not that you've given up, it's that the world outside now feels farther, not unreachable, just harder to reach. Even the most independent souls, the ones who've never needed anyone to entertain them, feel it. The slow dimming of daily motion, the narrowing of physical space, and emotional space too. At first, it's barely noticeable, but one morning, you sit by the window, coffee in hand, and realize that the world outside is still moving. You're just no longer moving with it as often. That realization carries a quiet kind of grief, not weakness, not failure, but grief for the life you built, the places you knew, the rhythms that once made the day feel full. But here's the thing, a smaller world doesn't have to mean a smaller life. Because even as the external world contracts, the inner world, the world of memory, meaning, conversation, reflection, can grow richer than ever before. You may not take long trips anymore, but a conversation with a grandchild can travel miles. You may not host dinner parties, but one heartfelt chat can fill a room with warmth. So take that short walk, even if it's just to the mailbox. Call the old friend, even if it's been years. Say yes to the book club, even if it's on Zoom. Your world is not closing, it's evolving. And there is still room, plenty of room, for laughter, connection, and purpose. Some mornings you rise with a clarity that surprises you. Your steps feel steady, your thoughts sharp. You make the bed, you pour the coffee, you feel capable. And then, just as easily, the next morning arrives like fog. Your knees ache without reason, your hands tremble as you reach for the cup. A strange dizziness swirls in, uninvited, and leaves without explanation. That's the new reality after 80. Your body, the vessel you've trusted for a lifetime, starts rewriting the rules without notice. One day, a walk in the park feels invigorating. The next, just tying your shoes feels like a challenge. And what makes it harder isn't just the discomfort, it's the uncertainty. That lingering question, will today be a strong day or a slow one? This unpredictability isn't just physical, it touches the heart. Because when your body surprises you, it shakes your confidence. You start pausing before stepping outside, not because you can't, but because you no longer know what your body might do next. And if you've always been active, reliable, fiercely independent, this shift can feel deeply personal, like a betrayal from something that once obeyed without hesitation. But here's the truth worth holding on to. Yes, your body may be inconsistent, but your response, your mindset, your awareness can be your anchor. Adaptability becomes your strength. You learn to listen more closely. You rest when needed, not out of defeat, but out of wisdom. You move gently, stretch intentionally, speak with your doctor, not just when something's wrong, but when something feels slightly off. Because in this season, knowledge is your armor, compassion is your medicine, and flexibility in both body and spirit becomes the skill that keeps you standing. You've lived long enough to know storms don't last forever. Neither do the weekdays. And while you may no longer command your body the way you once did, you still guide it with care, with courage, and with the kind of quiet strength that comes only from experience. Let's carry that strength into the final thoughts. So we've walked through 5 quiet truths, not statistics, not diagnoses, but lived realities that arrive like whispers after 80. The soft shrinking of your social circle, the way small health issues now echo louder, the fading presence in a room that once turned to greet you, the quiet narrowing of your daily routines, and the body once predictable, now full of surprises. Each of these shifts may seem small on their own, but together they can quietly reshape the way you experience the world. And yet, naming them out loud isn't a surrender. It's an act of strength, a way of saying, I see this, I feel this, and I'm still here. Because growing older isn't about fading, it's about unfolding. With every year, you carry more clarity, more perspective, more earned wisdom. And when you bring awareness to these changes, not to fear them, but to understand them, you reclaim a powerful truth. You are still in the story. You still get to decide what moments matter. You still shape meaning through your choices, your presence, your voice. So I ask you, which of these 5 truths resonated most with you? Was there one that struck a chord? Leave a comment below, not just for us, but for someone out there who may be walking through the same thing and needs to hear your voice. Because when we speak our truths, we offer others permission to do the same. And in this stage of life, more than ever, connection is currency. Your words, your reflections, your courage, they matter deeply. If this video brought something meaningful to your day, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone you care about. Your support helps us continue creating content that uplifts, informs, and honors this incredible season of life. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next video.